lead people with inspiration and belief, paint a beautiful picture for them on what they can do as a team. And if they do, what their world will look like. But then one-on-one, what will you do? What could you do just a little bit differently every single day?
Welcome to Culture Change RX, the podcast for healthcare professionals that are committed to creating a thriving workplace culture, improving the experiences of employees and patients, and ultimately unlocking their organization's next level of potential. I'm Sue Tetzloff, your host and co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. Join me and my insightful guests each week as we share actionable insights for navigating the crucial people side of the business of healthcare. Subscribe now for a weekly dose of Culture Change RX. Now let's dive into this week's conversation where culture change takes center stage. Welcome to another episode of Culture Change RX. And in our usual fashion, we're bringing our coaching team on for interviews from time to time. And actually today we get the delight of having Jane, who is one of the co-founders, along with me, of Capstone Leadership Solutions. So today we're excited to talk about maximizing momentum with trust, teamwork, and time. And in fact, we're really only going to be focusing primarily about teamwork because Jane is leading that up in that discussion and content at our upcoming Health Executive Forum, 12th annual forum. Jane, can you believe it? 12 years of bringing executives together on Mackinac Island in beautiful Northern Michigan for time around executive conversations and topics such as teamwork. So want to do a brief introduction and then we're going to jump into some of the content you've been developing for our guests on Mackinac Island.
Let's do it, baby. I'm McLeod, as Sue said, the other co-founder of Capstone, a great little company making giant changes to the world of healthcare and changing lives along the way. But I'm delighted to be here, and especially talking about this. I want to start telling a story about my dear friend, Brian Rauzi, who hails from International Falls, Minnesota, the icebox of the nation, and a beloved partner of ours. And for the audience, I had the great and distinct honor of getting to work not only in partnership with Brian through Capstone, but side by side as a fellow executive as their interim CNO. And right away, the very first executive team, Brian starts to refer to his team of leaders. And he had a good sized team for a critical access hospital. He had probably 11, 12 departments reporting to him. And so he starts right off referring to his team as Team 90th. And I'm like, what is this Team 90th thing? Like, why do you don't remember their names? Like, what are you doing? And he said, Jane, we have a goal as a team that we are going to achieve the 90th percentile in all we do, no matter what. That everything we set out to do, we will always achieve the 90th percentile, no matter what, or more. And the very first year that I named my team, Team 90th, and we set that goal together, all of them hit their department goals at 90 or better. No matter what pillar it fell under, they all hit it. But what I noticed about him that was at first extremely irritating was that he would talk about them in third person as though they were one. The Team 90th, I believe, would agree to that when we were talking about something as an executive team. Team 90th will volunteer for the employee picnic and we'll all do it together. Team 90th this, Team 90th that. And I was like, time out. You're the COO. I'm the CNO. We're working on this team here together. And gosh, can you advocate for my team? And he goes, what is your team? So I actually went to my nursing leaders and said, hey, let's call ourselves Team 100 so that we can beat Brian, because that's my goal. I want to beat Brian. And it just fell. It wasn't the same, because and now studying teamwork, I realized the things that Brian put into place that he was so wise about, right? He was so wise about. He had it. He knew it. And in studying teamwork, I was like looking for quotes, looking for inspiration. And another way to look at teamwork is actually from the voice of Steve Jobs. And when you think of Steve Jobs, you think of this iconic genius who supposedly wasn't even a good boss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But he talks about how success in business doesn't stem from one person. It stems from a great team of people. And he said he formed teams like the Beatles. And he said the Beatles were a great team because they knew each other's idiosyncrasies. They knew where each other might fail. And they didn't allow that, right? They didn't allow that. They didn't go there. Okay, Ringo's not going to get this. Why would we do that then? Let's not make him fail. Or let's hold him up while he's practicing or whatever. So I thought, wow, gosh, you don't think about Steve Jobs or the Beatles failing at anything, first of all.
No.
But that's likely why he liked them so well. But really, when I think about teamwork, I think about Brian Rauzi. I think about Team 90th. I think about connection and belief in each other and being consistent.
I love that you said that, like, he talked about them like they were one thing, like
Absolutely.
not as a group of collective individuals, but like they were a one thing. They were united. I love that. It really is a uniter, right? And I was also thinking, it came to my mind, we always talk about top of mind tactics, like when we have this focus or this goal or this thing we're trying to achieve, we like to keep it top of mind to remind people, yeah, we're doing this thing. And, all these ways we can keep it top of mind. Just the idea that they branded their team with a name, Team 90th, which is actually the goal, right? Is every time he used those words to refer to them, especially in front of them, but even to others, it was a reminder of we're united to achieve this.
Yep.
That's so cool.
And we're not backing down from it.
No.
I asked him once, I said, okay, so now you're at 90th percentile for everything you do for years in a row. Now it's been years, right? 2-3 years in a row. Like, are you going to name yourself Team 95th or whatever? And he's like, we already had the t-shirts made.
Don't waste the t-shirts.
You know what else? I love this. This is going on my t-shirt. There's an anonymous quote that says the definition of teamwork: less me, more we. Simple.
Ooh,
Less
simple,
me,
dimple.
more we. Yep, it's not about me, right? It's not about me.
Yeah. Yeah. This work that we've been doing over these last 12 years, and then even before that in our own organization where we work together on the leadership team to transform it, it wasn't really something like that we intentionally said, oh, we're going to use teamwork as the lever. But what we saw is in all the things that we were doing that we noticed that teamwork behaviors were improving when we set behavior standards, when we set common standards and common goals for everyone, that the byproduct of that was that people came together. So it wasn't like we brought them together, as the intent. It was like the byproduct of it. And I love our old talk we used to do, silo is a 4-letter word, because that was our first real attempt of looking back to say, we decrease silos, we increase teamwork and collaboration in the work that we're doing with our partners when they're on a journey to excellence. And so what else have you been studying just most recently on this topic? Because it's not a new topic to us and something we've explored before and taught before. So what else can you delight us with?
Well, you challenged me today. You said, give a compelling why. Give a compelling, why someone would really want to work on teamwork. You and I knew it was a ripple effect. And with everything that we do, we have to define it, because some people like concrete answers, right?
And now we have to proactively go after it since we know it's important. Don't wait till it organically bubbles up as a
right.
byproduct. Like, let's proactively go after this baby, and maybe we go faster.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to say is when I think about a compelling why, when you have it, what it feels like in your life as an executive, and when you do not. When you have it, you are truly maximizing your momentum. Things are going faster. There's less safety events. There's less challenges to change. There's, you're making your goals. Things are humming, if you will. One of the things I remember is as an executive, and I'm sure David, our CEO, noticed the same thing, is when you have a project, when you have a goal, when you have something that needs to be changed, now you have a leadership team that you can look out over a sea of faces and recognize that there are several in the crowd that can help you do that. You choose people for their strengths based on what you need. A lack of teamwork, when it's not there, there's safety events, there's patient complaints, there's a lack of employee engagement and siloed behavior so that you're constantly having to get over that and worry about working in the whirlwind and very reactive. Everything takes longer than it should have had to. And what else is you notice that you're leading as an executive. Instead of seeing a sea of faces that can help you, you see silos in the audience that are sprouting up. They're called your departments, and you have to coach them all differently instead of being able to standardize a common language, a common expectation that departments will work together with goals. So guess what happens as an executive? You don't have time for that. So you do it yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
And you're right in the weeds again. That's the compelling why is we need our executives to be outward, forward thinking, strategic. You are responsible for the healthcare of your community where you live. Big job.
Big job.
And you need help. And you need people to be very high functioning and high performing, working together, because it can't just be one or two. It needs to be more than that.
Yeah. My mind's going all sorts of places here. Of course, it always does. But we use teams, like employee-driven teams. So there's a difference maybe in what we mean by teamwork when we're talking about a high-functioning team, like an improvement team that's put together for a project or a specific purpose, either for a short period of time or a forever time, like some of the teams we set up. Or the leadership team, or Brian's Team 90th. Like when we talk about teams coming together like that, that's one use of this word team and being high functioning and working well. But then there's to your point about day-to-day operations going along well and getting great results, it's day shift working well with night shift and handing off well and being a good team that can pass the baton from one group to another, or working across departments to coordinate the care of a patient across the continuum and across different services within the organization. Or maybe it's the teamwork between nurses and doctors, or techs and whatever, or even the two big silos of our financial people with our clinical people in these complex organizations. You know what I mean? So, there's just so many ways we can think about teams and teamwork and high functioning teams and high functioning individuals that work together. The other thing I kind of, challenged you with as we were talking about getting ready for today's conversation is if teamwork is struggling, or maybe we just say there's always opportunities to amp up teamwork, what can we do? Like, what specifically can we do to intervene and make this better? just taking this quick break to let you know that the registration deadline is coming up soon for our Healthcare Executive Forum that is happening on June 12th and 13th, 2024 at Mission Point Resort on beautiful Mackinac Island here in Michigan. Join us for these 2 days of immersive learning, engaging discussions, and networking opportunities. Go to capstoneleadership.net. This year's topic is maximizing momentum with trust, teamwork, and time. Registration deadline is May 20th. Get your spot today. capstoneleadership.net.
I like to think of that in a model and 3 words: believe, connect, and be consistent. Like Brian, the model of consistency, those small daily actions. I'll talk about that in a minute. But believe, cue in the Ted Lasso sign, right? As soon as I see that word, it's like, oh, Ted Lasso, believe. But you have to create belief in what you're trying to achieve. When you begin to lead people to an aim, to a goal, to a strategy on a project, you have to inspire them to believe in the why for it. I think that there are still leaders out there who, well, it's our goal, so we got to do it. Or we've been told to, so we got to do it. No, if you really coach your entire team to believe in this, paint the picture of what their future looks like if you as a team achieve X. What is that? What is the goal, our SMART goals, the second R? What's the relevance of this? Let's go on a little fantasy journey together. If we are able to achieve our goal, this is what we as a team will have achieved. The other thing is, as far as believing, is making sure that individuals know what their role is in it. So many times, we set goals as an organization from the executive level, and nobody ever carries them all the way down to the housekeeper who's cleaning the floors, to the food nutrition person who's delivering meals, to the nurse who's giving meds safely. They're just doing their jobs, and everybody comes to work and wants to do a great job every day. But when you give them something to believe in, that I matter, I have a role in it, all those people with their individual roles, John, George, Ringo, and Paul all had a role, and they did their roles really, really well. And that's what I remember. Remember when you and I went to Covenant and we had to talk to them about the fact that we needed them to do their roles to give this fabulous mission statement that organization had in the word extraordinary. What are you doing to give extraordinary care today? And they all looked at us and they're like, extraordinary is that's a high promise. It was on 75 billboards all the way the whole drive here. Yeah, that's what your organization is promising. What are you doing? And when people believe in themselves and believe in what the team's trying to achieve and know what they need to do to get there, they're like, I get it. Right? I get it. I can do it. So lead people with inspiration and belief, paint a beautiful picture for them on what they can do as a team. And if they do, what their world will look like. But then one-on-one, what will you do? What could you do just a little bit differently every single day to get that?
Yeah.
And the second thing is really connectedness. And this is where I love the work of Pat Lencioni and his 5 dysfunction of team. And when he says the problem is we all as leaders believe that the team we're leading is the most important team, when actually it's the team we're on is the one that's really, we need to consider team. And when you think about that as a group of executives, I mean, there's some real potential for silos there. Without Rob's coaching, maybe Brian, without his CEO's coaching, maybe Brian could have just created a silo of Team 90th.
True. Yeah.
I got my team.
I could do that as a chief nursing officer. I could create a silo of nursing. Yep.
Sure.
Easy to do.
knowing that you're a team of leaders is an important team, and finding ways to connect them. Simple things like having that happy half hour at the end of learning, putting them in situations with quarterly learning, the synergy of learning tactics together. I mean, something that you and I did at our organization is, hey, we're learning about lean. Oh, yay. Oh, no. Let's split the room in half. Clinical, non-clinical, HR, finance, doesn't matter. You are all going to be speaking the same language. You are all going to help Jane reduce suicide attempts in her ER, or you are all going to help Susan decrease the time it takes to get an app into a real human standing in front of us in HR. You're working together. Just really, really simple, like this connectedness, like we are a team. And you know, I love the story of the redwood trees. And I was just in California and I went hiking, Sue, and I saw redwood trees for the first time. And that symbol of redwood trees, and even though there's this raging, horrible weather in California, knocking everything else down, but the redwood trees are standing, even though their root systems are very, very shallow. And instead of going down deep into the ground to hold the tree upright, they go just below the surface and then they spread out and they hang onto each other. I love that symbolism. And that's what great teams do. They hang onto each other below the surface. I won't let you fail. I got your back. You don't let me fail. I'm not good at this, but you're great at it. Let's do it together. What role do you have? So the belief in the goal, the connection with each other. And then the third thing was that consistency, that if something seems overwhelming, or even if it's not, that consistency of aligning your teamwork with everything you do in a huddle. How will we work together towards this goal today? Saying the words together, branding, having a magical branding word like Team 90th. And it doesn't even have to have the word team in it, but it's all about this today, right? It's all about this. So it doesn't happen overnight, but saying those words, I know you got this. I know you can do this. And
I love that, just starting with belief right there, like that, you've nailed it. That's like the starting point. Like, first we have to believe it's possible. And then we have to believe that we can contribute, like no matter our role. If we're on the team, we're part of it, we can contribute. Maybe we need help understanding how we can contribute, like how can non-clinicians be part of improving the patient experience? We get that a lot, right? Like,
yes, we
really,
do.
how can we help? Like, how can we help? And there's so many ways, but some people need help with understanding how they can help. And it's a lovely conversation. And you see the light bulbs go off and they're like, wow, I can help, I can help. It's part of leadership.
Pride. Yeah, there's pride, there's loyalty, there's trust. Like just having maybe a 15-minute conversation with someone to tell them that you believe in them and this is what you see their role in. Whew, magic. That is the secret sauce right there. That's magic.
It is. It is. You know what I've always observed? You've seen this too. I don't think it's just small healthcare organizations where I see this, or small teams, but like in crisis, people pull together. Like, do we not see kind of the heightened benefits of teamwork and collaboration and communication, and just almost like it's been practiced? But sometimes, like, we haven't even been able to practice some of these things that can happen in healthcare, and people pull together. And some of it's very organized, like a code or whatever. And it is very practiced and organized, trauma code or whatever. And people pull together and they just, like well-oiled machine, execute as a team and anticipate what others need and deliver on that. But I think that's why big goals and that Team 90th goal, like especially if you're starting out average, and you're hovering around the 50th percentile, 90th seems like it's a far way away. And again, it's this idea of when we have something big in front of us, we pull together differently. And I think that's why we should hold out some pretty big beliefs in front of people, not to set them up to fail, but to set them up to come together.
Yes.
And we might spend a lot of time convincing them that it's possible. And that is the first start, because they're probably not going to take action towards it if they don't believe it's possible. They'll check out before they even start. Like, I don't even want to waste my time and energy because it's not possible. Yeah.
I'm gonna see if it starts, and then maybe I'll get on board. Maybe. When you mentioned teaming in crisis, in my research, I stumbled upon, we love Amy Edmondson. She's right?
Yeah,
Psychological safety. But her new material is on how to make a team out of perfect strangers. So I watched this podcast / TED Talk. I can't even remember what it was. And she actually is talking about healthcare, and she's using healthcare as an example that, like, every single day in healthcare organizations across the country, that perfect strangers are together in a room to save somebody's life. Or that in a bigger organization, that sometimes whoever is the new respiratory therapist that's working in ICU today, helping me manage my vent, or the new circulator, or, whatever in the operating room, that there are just some departments in organizations that have got to be extremely well-oiled, that people have to play their roles no matter what. So teamwork is possible in situations like that, but those aren't for long-lasting effects. Like we're talking about, like, inspire people to do the unimaginable. We never dreamt we could have patient satisfaction in the 95th percentile for years on end when we were only at the 30th. But we did it. We did it because we set the aim and we went. We just went. So
yeah.
I love
And
that.
I think that's, like high reliability, and holding high reliability out as possible. Like, think about early in our nursing careers, Jane, we learned so much about certain percentages of complications or infections or things that we're just going to, through the normal course of the work we do, the care we provide, they're just going to happen. Like that, you just can kind of expect it. It's not going to be a lot, but it's going to happen. And then now this idea that maybe we can get it to zero, that it never happens.
Right.
That really was a foreign concept. But here again, that's a big goal, to get to zero defect, right? To get to 7 years with no central line, bloodstream infections or those kind of things.
How do you get people to believe in zero? That's a big belief.
Yeah. It requires teamwork. Like, no one person can pull that off.
Right.
That is a team result, a team contribution. There is no way. And beyond the improvement team that might be working on, what's the protocol, what's the bundle, what's the whatever, not just that team, but the actual clinicians and people every day that are carrying that out and studying, adjusting that work and getting it to the point where it's working all the time.
Another side effect that I remember clearly, speaking about you and I's work in our local hospital and making sure one was not none, and making sure that we were taking great care of our community in that way, is another side effect that happens with great teamwork and telling people what their role in it is, that they start to have ideas that you didn't think about. But what if you did this? They notice, right? All of a sudden it's like, Jane, I noticed this is happening. Maybe if we did it this way, all of a sudden the innovator comes out because they want to be a part of that. Winning is amazing. Losing sucks. So they don't want to lose.
Right.
But it's more
especially
competition
on important stuff like this, right?
Yeah. Armed.
Yeah. Well, is there, a parting comment, a last piece of advice? I know I don't want to have you give it all away. I know you have a lot prepared for our audience that is joining us on Mackinac Island for the 12th Annual Health Executive Forum, but is there one little tip, trick, or one last thing you'd like to leave our podcast audience with on the topic of teamwork today?
Only, just like I said before, who you are teaming with matters. And a great team that really works well together across an organization, like pay attention to those people on the org chart to your left and your right and collaborate with them. That's probably that's why you and I started our company. That's the most important team in an organization, the people to the left and the right in the org chart, that they're going to get the work done.
Yeah. And pretty soon, if we're all doing that, we're all locked arms, right?
Yes.
Like we're
holding each other
all
up.
locked arms. Yep. Exactly. Like those roots on the tree.
Yes.
Well, Jane, this has been fun, and we'll have more opportunities in the future to have important conversations like this around important topics that improve our culture. Thanks for contributing to this podcast and culture change in healthcare. And until next time, have a great rest of your day.
I will. See you then. Bye.
All right. Bye now. Thanks for tuning in to Culture Change RX. If you found value in today's episode and you are a believer in fostering change in healthcare, join us in making a difference. Follow, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with colleagues and your network. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Until next week, keep inspiring positive change.